Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Daniela, and on this channel we do crafts, cocktails, cooking, all sorts of good stuff. Today is an episode of crafting with a cocktail. So I will meet you in the kitchen to see what today's cocktail is first, and then we'll get crafting. Welcome to my kitchen. We are gonna make a blended mint lemonade with some vodka. You could use your alcohol of choice. I am not a gin fan, but something to me about this is speaking that gin would be good in it. However, I didn't buy any because I'm not going to drink it anyways. But you could use this definitely with any light colored alcohol. So I'm going to start by throwing some ice into my blender. We just went camping, so we have a lot of leftover ice. Otherwise, I would just do the regular old tray kind. Okay, some of that. And then I'm gonna throw in some sprigs of mint. Now, I've never made this in my own blender. I actually just had lunch today with a friend, and there was a blended mint lemonade, and it was so good. I was like, I have to recreate this. But I don't have a very powerful blender, so we'll see how this turns out. I'm putting in a bunch of leaves. The one I had was like loaded with mint. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are small though. Keep that in mind. So we'll start with that, see how that goes. I believe mojitos have 7 in them, so that seems like a good amount. You could absolutely make your own lemonade beforehand. I did consider it. I'm feeling lazy. I'm in my finals week. I'm, working. I'm taking care of a bunch of stuff. So I was like, I'm going to take the easy way out this time. And for those of you who maybe don't want to do it by hand, I grabbed Simply Lemonade. I would grab a good brand of lemonade, not just like that sugary syrup, basically Kool-Aid stuff. It's not going to taste quite as good. So I'm grabbing my Simply Lemonade. I'm going to pour some of this in there. And I'm going to pour some of this in there. Now, something you'll find out on my channel is that I don't like to measure, which I'm recognizing right now. I need the top to my blender. Let's see. There it is. So I guess I'll just have to taste test it and see how it goes. Plug your ears. Okay, I'm actually impressed with how well this is chopping up so finely the mint, because I didn't expect that. I'm going to take a straw and taste test it, see what it needs. If you guys try this and perfect it, write down the recipe. I plan on just winging it. Almost looks like a blended mojito or lemonade. It's delicious, but it is a little too icy where it's like clogging the straw. And I think it needs a little bit more of this and a little bit more lemonade just for a little flavor. A little bit of that. I'm going to add one more piece of mint. The one I had at lunch was literally like green. Like this is kind of a very, very light, almost white with green speckles. The one that I had for lunch was basically pure green. One more leaf for good luck. And another splash of this for a little flavor. Okay. Alright, I think that's good. I'm going to pour it into a glass and drink it. So much stuff. I need to put this away. I'll put it away after I turn the camera. Okay. Oh, I made like the perfect amount. Don't spill, don't spill. Magical. Wow. Right. So we're gonna move on to our craft next, and I will see you guys there. By the way, this is part of the Spring Fantasy Core Challenge that is hosted by Indiana Jones. I'll leave her info down below as well as the playlist. So cheers, and let's check out what I made today. The flyer for the Fantasy Core Spring playlist by Annie Jones. So I just wanted to show that quick and say thanks to Annie before moving on to the DIY. Okay. I am going to attempt to make a little, like, I don't know if it's like a troll house or a fairy house or fairy garden, but something along those lines with this. So I'm going to start by giving it a base coat of just dark brown. By the way, I'm trying this new technique of kind of filming and editing and narrating because editing takes a long time, and then when I'm done editing, I still have to do a voiceover. So I'm just going to do it and speed up the parts that are not interesting. All right, here's a trick, oh my goodness, a trick or a tip, which is how a trip came to be, on something with labels, is you can put a tiny bit of essential oil on there and it'll just rub right off. So I'm going to do that. I've got some lavender here. I'm going to put just 2 little splotches of it on there. Mix it around. And now I'm just pushing with my finger. I can't remember if I'm supposed to use a device with it or not. Not sure. Or if I just used my finger. What did I use last time? Guys, I don't remember. The oils kind of remove its want to stick. I must have used something to scrape it, but I don't know what. Anyways, I won't make you watch this torture. I'll let it sit and I will take it off. Once I get it off, I am going to wipe it down with some rubbing alcohol to get rid of the oil so that the paint will stick better. Alright, it came off easy peasy. It's been honestly less than 2 minutes since I did that. I just scraped it off, then I rubbed it with some rubbing alcohol to get rid of all the oils, and it's literally like clean off, which is awesome. So I'm going to get to painting. I'm going to do a dry brushing technique eventually, and not the kind where you see people do it on like wood boards. This is more of a painterly technique, especially works for like figurines, ceramics, stuff like that. And what it's going to do is I'm going to put the darkest color to get into these little crevices, and then as I get lighter and lighter, it'll only stick to the bumpy parts because I won't be brushing as hard and intentionally into the crevices. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with this dark brown. This is actually raw umber in acrylic paint. And yeah, I'm going to get started. Oh wait, don't have a pen. Palette somewhere. I do. So I will start painting this. Depending on how it appears on here, I may need more than one coat. So we shall see. And I'm still in debate about what to do about this area. It might end up green later. We don't know. We're just going to paint it for now. Should I not paint it? Let me think about this. I don't think I will paint that area. Okay. Regret. Retract. It's okay if it's not perfect right now because I'm going to paint over it anyways. Cool. So I'm just going to paint the riveted area or whatever you want to call it. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to paint the bottom either, but we shall find out. Okay. This is actually a pretty nice coat so far. I'm going to still check it out once it's dry to see if it is, again, opaque enough or if I will need to do a second layer or a second coat, per se, of paint. So we shall see. Some areas are like it's coming on lighter than others, I'm noticing. So I'm trying to be conscious of that. Alright, I'm just gonna go around and make sure I got everywhere. And actually, this seems like a pretty nice dark brown. I think I'm gonna leave it. I don't think it needs a second coat, but I am gonna let it dry. You could also blow dry it. I'm just gonna let it dry regularly because, I don't know, I'm not a big like speed up the process type of person. I take my time. So I'm gonna let it dry before the next step. Okay, so while that's drying, I've decided I'm gonna start working on the top, and the top I'm envisioning kind of as like little mushrooms. So I'm using some folk art paints. I am a Plaid ambassador. I'll leave their link down below, but they make lots of wonderful craft paints. And these are both multi-surface paints, which is great for things like glass. I've got them in the color Moon Yellow and Apple Red. So I'm going to start with my bottom layer, which I'm envisioning as the Moon Yellow color. Look at kind of coverage that has. The brown one was a different brand. Now, do I want a third one here? I don't know. How many mushrooms do I want? Yellow. Does that look confusing? I'm not sure. I don't know. But this one's yellow. Okay, so these ones will for sure need 2 coats. Not a very thick coat, which is fine. Craft paints usually need 2 coats anyways. So I'll do that one yellow. The top one's going to be red. But then do I make this one big yellow one? Does that look weird? No, that's not bad. I'll just do the whole thing yellow. I think it'll make it a little too complicated if it's the third one. Cool. So I'll paint this baby yellow. And I want to make sure, if you can see there, that some of this edge is not yellow. So I'm going to get in there too. It's amazing doing this live per se. I feel like painting takes me so much longer when I'm not. Maybe this is good pressure. Okay, I'm going to do that. Dang it, where's my jar to rinse out? I'm going to grab that and then paint this baby on top red. Rinsing my brush out. By the way, if you guys don't know, the best way to rinse your brushes out is to kind of bounce or tap it at the bottom and then swirl it around. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Swirl, swirl, swirl. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Swirl, swirl, swirl. It takes a few rounds of that. I usually then kind of like get some of the water off on the edge and dry it off. Alright. Now this one's going to be red on top. I'm not sure if it's a bad idea to add it now as opposed to later when the yellow is dry, but we're gonna find out. I think it's gonna be really cute having this little mushroom top. I thought about creating my own little house by using like a jar and then using popsicle sticks to create a roof, which I think would look cool, and I think the wood would really add a nice touch. However, when I saw this jar, I just thought it would be perfect with the rivets of the bottom half to create like a log type look. And so that's what we're going to go for. And I'll show you and explain that when we get there. Okay, so this is doing all right. Oh, it's hard for you guys to see. All right, so this will definitely need at least 2 coats, if not more. I'll let that dry. It is definitely looking kind of cupcake-ish. We'll work on it. See you guys when everything is dry. Alright, so I'm moving back to this one. It's about dry. I think because it's cold in my apartment, it's not fully dry. It's a little tacky. Or maybe it's the type of paint I used. I'm not sure. I'm going to take some more Plaid paint and mix it to my original brown color. I'm going to add a little bit of white. Oops. And some of that beautiful moon yellow to create a different brown. If you just add white to like a dark brown like this, it turns kind of grayish. That's not the color I'm going for. I'm going to mix it up. I'm using a smaller brush now and mixing it. I'm just trying to use the tip because I want to do this dry brushing technique I was talking about. So this is turning out a weird grayish color, so I'll have to use more yellow, but if you can see it, it's not very brown, it's just like a brownish gray. I'm going to add a little more yellow. Oops, that was a lot, but maybe that's a good thing, I don't know. And actually red is great for wood colors as well. Should I add red? Let's add a touch of red and see what happens. Same color as before, apple red. Just gonna add a touch. If I don't like it, then oh well. Just because bark often has like a somewhat of a red touch to it. And this is a little bit more of the color I was looking for. It's a little different there. So I'm gonna take this color, scrape off as much as possible. I'm going to take my paper towel here and brush off some of that. Dry brushing is like when you take a dry brush and wipe off most of it so your paintbrush is practically dry. And then I'm just going to lightly go over it, and you guys should be able to see pretty quickly how it kind of highlights. See how it's not going into those crevices? So that's the look I'm going for. And it looks kind of like trees, which is pretty cool already. Do a little bit more. I don't want to scrape off any underpaint by using just my brush alone. I want some of the paint to get on there. And if I let it totally dry, it might scrape off a little bit of that. So I'm just going over these ridges. Like I said, I can close up too. You can see how it's still darker in those in-between areas. So I'm going to keep doing that around my jar here, whatever you want to call this. It's almost like a candy jar. You know, where you went to your aunt's or your grandma's house and they had some candies in here. And I don't mind that it's a little inconsistent. Trees aren't perfect, right? So like some areas are brighter than others, and I'm okay with that. I'm just going to keep re-dipping into my color, and I'm going to keep dabbing a lot of it off and keeping going. It's so funny because I have my laptop back here because I thought I was going to watch a movie during this, which is what I do during my voiceover ones, but I didn't do this time. So I must have used a little too much paint here because if you can see, it is in some of these crevices a little bit. It's not a big deal, but just adds to, oops, that's a lot of paint. Just adds to the look I'm going for, or it doesn't add to the look I'm going for, but the dry brushing technique does. And I'm just brushing it very lightly. I'm not pressing super hard because then it would definitely get into the crevices, which is where I don't want it. The nice thing about dry brushing too in this technique, as something that has ridges or crevices or whatever, is that, gosh, what was I saying? Is that it dries really quickly. So I've got my first kind of layer down here, and then I think I'm going to make it even lighter for some other ones. I'm just going to experiment and see what happens if I go up and down. Just really lightly dragging some of the color up and down the trunk so it does look more vertical, because trees are vertical, but also their bark goes around the tree. So I kind of like this. Okay. Pretty cool. I'm going to take some white here, make it even lighter. By the way, once paint is dry, you can paint over, add more paint on it, so that's why you see lots of crazy colors going on here. That's what's going on there. So now I'm just going to take the lighter color in certain areas to like highlight some parts of the trees, not necessarily all of it. Oops, that's the wrong one. This one. So now you can see that there's a variety of colors. I know my light's not perfect for this right now. If you've seen a few recent videos, you know that my ring light broke, and that's okay. So these are kind of this kind of tree look. I'm gonna add some more finer details to it, I think. I don't know. We shall see. I want to think on it for a minute, so I'm gonna let that dry while I think about it. I'm going to do the same technique to clean up my brush. I'm going to pounce it up and down, swirl it around, do the hokey pokey. Kind of scrape off any extra water here. And I might have to fold this over. Great. So I'm going to go back to my little mushroom thingy. I'm thinking about, so it looks really cupcake-ish right now, and that's not the look I was going for, so I'm figuring out how I'm going to fix that. We shall see. But I'm going to go on with my second layer here. You want to make sure that your first layer is completely dry before going to the second one, because otherwise it will scrape off old paint. Apparently some of my red was not dry, so it's kind of seeping into the tops here. It looks like it might need a third layer. I think this time I'm going to wait for the second layer to dry before I do the top one, maybe. I'm thinking about putting that little tiny in-between space white, just so that you can see the separation of little mushies, or mushrooms, if you will. And actually, since I'm going to do that, I think I will go on right away with the red a little bit. Less is more with paint, guys, so if you use too much right away, you might end up wasting paint. If you don't have a way to save it, so I just like to add extra when I need it, and not every single, not just like overdo it the first time. So I'm not going to do the little in-between space right now. I'm just doing the tops and the edges, and I think I'll make that white, so make it look more mushroomy. And last, cupcakey. So we'll see how that goes. So I have decided I think I'm going to add a little bit of some even like actual just pure white detail on here, just for a little bit of texture for our trees. And dipping my smaller brush in there, wiping some of it off. And I think I'm just going to kind of like lightly make some stripes. It's almost looking birch-like right now. I think I'm going to soften those up a little bit. By softening them up, I'm just like going over them a little. Yeah, that looks way more natural if I'm softening them up than just like the straight lines. It's getting into the crevices a little bit, but I can always go over those if I feel like it. I think I will have to separate them, so I'm going to rinse this out. Go back to my dark brown. I'm just in areas where it's like very blatant. I'm going to just make my little lines, because I want them to look a little separated as trees. The reason that I'm showing you this, like doing this part while I'm doing the topper, is so that if you do choose to make this yourself, you don't have to wait for something to completely dry to do the next part. You can move on to it. And I think that's a really helpful tip that might be missed sometimes when people are crafting, because crafting goes a lot faster if you are doing it in tandem with other things. Okay, this is looking pretty good. Okay, so got my little tree thing going on. I think I'm gonna add some little knots to it maybe. Maybe I'll add a little black to my brown to make knots, or should I just do it like this? Let's see. Using the bottom of my brush now, this little plastic tip, and I'm just gonna add. Oh, it's not working the way I wanted it to. Polka dots or different little marks across my trees here. Now, of course, trees would have branches and things. These don't. That's okay. Maybe I should make some of these bigger. Yeah, the bigger ones are really helping. I'll show you guys a close-up in just a second here. Okay. I always wipe mine off on my paper towel afterwards just so it doesn't get all chunky if you do this numerous times the same one. So you can see my little kind of marks here. I'll do it straight up so it looks a little more tree-like. Oh yeah. Very cool. Very tree-like. I like that a lot. Cool. Let that dry. I think I'm gonna add some greenery here. I haven't decided. We'll see. Okay, so while that's drying, I'm gonna create my door. This is just a little. I thought I muted my laptop. Let me try that again. Okay, now it's muted. This is just a pizza box, a little piece of cardboard. You could also use air dry clay or something else if you got more time. I'm just gonna do this, and I'm gonna cut a little door out of it. And I want one of those cute little, like, rounded doors. So I'm just, you could definitely draw this out ahead of time. I am not, it's just not my style, you know. Is that, that's too tall, okay. So, keep cutting it down here. Enough. I'm putting it up to my jars. I'm doing this to look. I like that size, but I think it sticks out too much, so I'm going to do it even smaller. This baby's probably 2.5 inches, maybe 3 at its tallest point. And I like it. Okay. So I could leave it like this, but I'm going to make it more earthy looking. And I'm going to dip it into this color Moss by Waverly, which has separated from me, so there's a lot of weird colors happening. I shook it up several times. Oh, apparently that wasn't enough. You can look in there. It's not the color it's supposed to be, which is this kind of light mossy green. I'm going to mix it up. By the way, this is totally customizable. Any colors or techniques or patterns or textures you like would work. Let's see if that works. Oh, that's much better. Okay. It's color Moss by Waverly, which is also made by Plaid. And I'm just painting it in that color. Ooh, and I kind of like it a little streaky, but we will leave it as is for now, and I will dry brush it and stuff in a second here. Should I add a little brown? I don't know. I've had some of my brown and I'm loving it. It's a little bit too much. Yeah. I do love this. This is my door so far. I love that. I'm going to leave it like that. I think it looks really cool. So I'm going to let that dry too. Okay, so I've decided to go in with my moss color around here. I'm going to make it feel a little like bushy or like exactly like moss, honestly. So I'm going to go in with my moss color. Oops, it's still capped. And I'm going to do a stippling technique, which just means pouncing it. Oh, I might have to do a solid coat first. Okay. Let me do a solid coat first, because it's not reacting well to the stippling with the glass. So I'll do a solid coat, and then I'll stipple on top of it. Thinking like tree, mossy. Again, I don't know if the Trolls House, a fairy's house, what, but I just like had this idea in my head, and I was really excited when I saw this jar, and I just feel like it'll go well together. Let me know what you guys think of it. Either now or when it's done or whenever. Getting the lip of the jar too here. This could still be functional for sure. I guess I wasn't thinking about that. I was just thinking about painting it and leaving it, but now that I think about it, it could still be functional. So I'm going to let just one coat dry. It's not much, it's not very thick, but it'll still support the idea of stippling. So I've got that going on there. Looks even more clear on camera. Dang! Maybe because my hand's on there? I don't know. Let that do its thing. That was what I'm doing. Ooh, it hit the table. It's still drying, so we've got some drying time on our hands. Okay, I grabbed a small round brush, and it's one that comes to a tip. Some small round brushes end with like a round. This one comes to a tip. I know that's kind of hard to see. I don't know if I can make it focus or not. And I'm going to work my little door, dip into the dark brown, and I'm going to make wood planks out of it, and I'm just going to very lightly make vertical lines. If they connect, that's great. If they don't, that's great too. Apparently this is harder on cardboard. It's not really wanting to react the way I want to. They were pretty wobbly actually, which I don't mind. I think it's because I'm holding it. I'm trying to show you guys, but it might be easier for me down here. There it is. Okay, I might have to do the rest down here, guys. Oh, it's amazing how this is like not favoring the cardboard, the painted cardboard. Oh, that one was a nice one. I wish they all looked like that. Okay, now I feel like I have to make these other ones darker to match it. So I got my wood planks, and I'm going to make a doorknob by again dipping the bottom of my brush into the brown. I'm going to make it over here. Ooh, snap, that was a lot. I'm just swirling around to make a nice circle. Yeah, baby! That looks good. I'm going to add some highlights too, so I'm going to rinse out my brush and take a little bit of white, not a lot. I'm going to take some, brush a little bit off, and just kind of very lightly add some highlights here. Probably could have done a dry brushing technique for this. But ain't no thing like a bit of chicken wing. It's looking really cool and rustic, which I really like. So this is what our doors can stay as. Oh no, that's not true. I'm going to add a tiny highlight to the doorknob. I don't think it'll work while it's really wet. When you do dots like that, they stay really wet. I'm going to try to just kind of lay it on top. Oh yeah, okay, that worked. If it swallows it up, just wait for it to dry a little more and do that again. And this is the finale of the door, and I will glue that on later on. I want to make sure that everything's painted and done first. Okay, I just looked. The door's blending in quite a bit to the background. I'm not sure I'm a fan of that. So I'm going to mix my moss with a little bit of white and add some more detail. I'm watching a live video, guys, sorry. This is Shay from Midnight Scroll Her. She's pretty awesome if you want to go check her out. I'm adding some white to my moss. And I'm gonna dry brush it, so I'm gonna scrape a bunch of it off.
Which 2008 comedy
She's doing trivia.
had the tagline, "Put this in your smite."
Dry brushing.
Let me read that again.
Oh yeah, this looks better.
Which 2008 comedy
To me.
had the tagline, "Put this in your pipe and smoke it."
I like it better already. But paint's dry, a shade darker than what you think, so I'm going to go over a little bit more of a lighter color.
This is going to be that center. You know, I said we were going to go lighter. Now we're going to go darker in this center right here. All the way down.
I hope that'll make it look a little better. I think it's because I did planks, but I feel like it only makes sense. It sticks out a little bit. I will figure out a way to make it stick out more. I haven't thought about it yet. Okay, so this is ready to stipple. I'm going to do dark first and then light later. So I've got a little bit of moss in here, just barely. I'm going to add a little bit of brown, the dark brown. I want to make it a little darker. It's not turning out the color I want it to be. That's okay. It turned into just brown. Oh, okay. So that happens when you craft without trying it first. But honestly, like, who's got time for that? Not I, says a dog. Okay, I'm going to add some dark stipples first, so I'm just pouncing my brush here. It does not have to be consistent or completely covering. This is just for an effect. And then I'll add some light in a little bit too. Lighter green, I mean. Oh, it got into my trees. That's okay, because it'll just look like it's growing out of it. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry. I know it's kind of hard to see here. Like I said, I don't have great lighting right now. It wants the other colors. It'll get better, my friends. Guys, I love my door, but it is blending in so much with the background. Okay, I think I'm just gonna dry brush over all of it with a mix of moss and white. Feeling a little upset about that, but it's fine. Just needs to stand out a little more, in my opinion. Maybe you all feel differently, but that's too bad. Oh, poop, I didn't get a paper towel, napkin. So I'm going to dry brush over everything. It has planks left, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm trying to be careful of my doorknob here. It's I just need to stand out more. And I feel like that helped a lot. Okay. Maybe I need to do it a little wet into wet of the planks so they're not so... Yeah, I like that better. Alright, that way they're not so blatant. And they'll still stand out amongst this. Yes, yes, yes. This looks better. Okay, great. I'm going to leave it like that. Let that baby dry. By the way, with the camera off, I did add another layer of yellow to my cupcake essential. I think that's going to be my final layer before I add some polka dots. Ooh, it just hit something. Yeah, that's where we're at.
Okay, give me 1 second.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for letting me go.
I'll mute myself.
Okay, so now I'm mixing yellow and white to make like a creamy color. Oh, it's really yellow. We'll see how it goes. And I'm going to add that to the middle part with my smallest brush of this mushroom. I call them mushies. I don't know. I'm a child at heart. It's not looking very even. The paint's smudging. Cool. We love this for me. Smudged a lot. Oh no. Guys, there's lots of repair to be done. This needs this. I'll get the red. Yeah. It's changing the color. Oh, it's fine. It'll blend in. Pink, red. Just kidding. I actually hate pink and red together, so I'm going to cover it up. It'll dry fine. Add some texture. Wow, dimension. So I added a little bit of white in there to hopefully... What in the world? Guys, it's so hard for me not to swear in videos. Sometimes, not always. Ay. Make it look more mushroomy. Maybe I'll add a little. No, I don't think I can do that. It'll be fine. It's gonna be mushrooms. It's fine. It's fine. I'm gonna grab my hot glue gun, hot glue my door to the thing. This is going quickly and yet taking a long time at the same time. We shall see how it goes. Okay, it is time to stipple some lighter stuff onto the greenery. So I'm gonna mix some lighter white and the moss. This will create like a medium color. I'm just gonna stipple. Oh, that's too much paint. Again, stippling is just kind of like a punching technique. There are stippling brushes. Oh, this looks better. See, I had too much paint at the beginning. Ruh-roh. Just gonna pounce it everywhere. Make it look a little more bushy. Yeah, kind of tree-like. Or moss-like, or whatever you want to call it. I like it. I like lots of loot. We'll have a little mushroom top on it eventually. Make those into mushrooms once that's completely dry. The yellow feels a bit dry. I guess I could start with that. Okay. By the way, it's bad for your brush to sit in your water a long time. It will dissolve the glue in the little metal part that's holding it. Which is why I wash them out sooner rather than later. So I'm going to get some white paint and start making my circles for my mushrooms on the yellow piece. I'm going to try to make them feel as if that ridge is not there, even though we all know it's there. I guess I could make that ridge like a very, light yellow so it would balance it out. Not being exact, if you're a perfectionist, of course, these will all be very uniform. I love a painterly look, so I'm not super worried about it. Painterly, I guess I would describe as being more expressionistic and natural, like seeing the brush strokes a little more, seeing its imperfections. I think it will look cool if it's got that painterly touch to it. Creating some little dots on my mushroom. Again, you could have painted that second little, like, almost layer a different color. I don't really know what to think of it, to be honest. It is creating some struggle for me to create these circles. It's still wet, so it's not liking that. guys know that colors look different if you put them next to different colors? So like a white inside of a dark pink versus a light blue will look different. I think that's kind of cool. So now I'm just adding some little polka dots to add to the look. That's my mushroom look. I feel like I should add another one up here. Even though I didn't like it the first time. Oh, that's not bad. Again, this is part of the Spring Fantasy Core Challenge hosted by Indie Aunt Jones. She is awesome. Actress, crafty person. Works for United Way, which is super dope. Yeah. The red isn't quite dry yet, so I'm not going to add those there yet, because otherwise it'll just turn to pink. And though I love pink, it's not the look I'm going for. I'm going to take my white brush, I'm going to rub a little, and just kind of stipple it across my little tree kind of look here. Maybe I should add with a little moss. I think I'll do that next. So it's not so stark. I think I will. A little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. Yeah, it's looking more natural that way. I'm going to keep doing that. And this is going to be few and far between. I don't want it to be everywhere necessarily. Oops. If you see one that's a blatant paint stroke, it's not part of this painterly look I'm going for necessarily. Okay. Looking decent. I think it could use some more of the moss. So I'm going to put the moss a little over it too, which is fine with me. Again, I'm not going for bright green. I'm looking for a mossy color, so it's okay that it's not perfect. And not super bright or super green. We'll see how I feel about that in 5 minutes. Okay, I'm going to make the dots on my red mushroom now. Maybe we should make that line again first. Again, it dries darker than you think it's going to do, so I think I'm just going to go in with pure white because it'll cover the yellow, and it's not very covering. That's fine. Turning into a weird ketchup mustard mixed color. We're over it. So, I'm gonna do this. I could use the bottom of my brush for this, however, I'm trying to make bigger circles. Like some of it I could do, you know, like this. Which looks 1,000 times better than those ones. Poop. Okay. Oh, but I hit a line, so that doesn't work. By line, I mean like a texture line. Oh snap, this is getting bigger and bigger. Ah. Let me know again if you like this kind of like live feedback, or if you like the voiceovers better. It really does help me understand what you prefer on my channel. I want this to look like Toad from Mario Kart, kind of. Boop. Boop. Painting circles in small areas is difficult, in big areas it's easier. Keep that in mind. Try to make a big one here. Big one here. And then small leaves. Good too. Oh snap. It's a learning process. Some of these are really difficult to make. But again, I think that Paint Really Touch is fun, just depending on how you use it and being intentional about it. Yep, I love this. I think it looks mushroomy and less cupcakey, which is awesome. I still have to go over this stupid stem thing. I'm gonna be more careful. Oh snap, but it's still blurring and not being careful. Okay. Not my greatest idea or technique. Guys, I've never painted something like this before. Please don't come for me, because I'm learning to hoop a loop. It's okay. We're all learning on this channel. It's not monetized anyways. We're learning. Scraping off my bottom, rinsing out the top, and covering up the top with the parts that are supposed to be red with red. Whee! Which you should wait for it to dry. I'm not waiting because vodka. Oh no, so much white. No, 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 no. Still painting it, sorry, I'm out of frame sometimes. It's not on purpose, it's just out of focus. Yay! It's looking way more mushroomy than it did before, which is great! Yay! Mushroom top for my treehouse thing. Alright, I am ready to glue my door on to my little house thing. So, I'm going to take some hot glue and just put it on my door. I think that'll be easier than putting it onto the house. It'll be a little more exact. I let it warm up for a little while. And I'm putting it near the edge of the door, but not quite on the edge in case it expands. And it's okay if not every area wants to stick, because I can go in with more glue. Haha, you guys thought it was not gonna be feasible. But it is. By you guys, I mean this door. So now I've got my door. Oh, I love it. I'm glad I did the, like, mossy white color dry brushing. Oh, poop, I have to stick this on there. Yeah, because it's already pissed. Ugh. Anyways, be conscious of your door, I guess. I love it. I will add the mushroom top when it's dry. This is what it looks like. So yellow moss. Nope. Yellow moss, yellow moss, yellow. Nope, that's falling into it. So if you guys don't know, you need to add dark to light. It'll change it faster than changing light into dark, if that makes sense. So like, for example, if you have black and adding white will not do anything, or it will take much more effort, as opposed to the opposite. So I'm doing the opposite now, which means I mix a little bit of the dark into light. The light was the light yellow. Yeah. Looks more green, huh? Loving my little house for this spring fantasy gar challenge. Hello, this is editing Daniela as opposed to the Daniela that's creating right now. I realized in my new method of trying to edit less and talk more live that this video is insanely long. Therefore, I have decided to speed up this little clip here and just, yeah, let you enjoy these last few seconds of creating my cute little house. And there will be reveal photos right after this as well. I'm so grateful to Indie Annie Jones for hosting this challenge and for all the wonderful participants. I can't wait to watch all their videos. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.